Okay. Hello, everyone. Once again, thank you very much for joining today's Catalyst African Town Hall. We really appreciate you in as much as today is an holiday. You still make it to join our town hall today to listen to us. If today is your first time joining the African Town Hall, we are just young, vibrant Africans trying to promote blockchain across Africa. And just last week, we managed to host one of the Cardano governance workshops in Ghana, Tamale. And it was very great. If you visit our social media X, you see the impact that we had, some of the testimonies from the participants, and we still continue to expand our reach. So we don't only do virtual meetings, we try as much as possible to host physical or in-house meeting as well. This evening, we have representatives from the DRep chain. They are come to tell us about their project that they have been doing in Africa in relation to governance and decentralization. Um, we are here today with one of their project managers, Nana Safo. So Nana Safo, you just give us a brief about yourself and then tell us what the direct chain is all about. Then after that, we open the floor for anybody who want to add to what you have said or ask you question for further clarification. So if you are there, you can unmute yourself. Okay. William, greetings from Zambia. Okay, William, thank you very much for joining us from Zambia. I actually we should have done a roll call, yeah, but just after Nanasafo's presentation, we give ourselves the time to for us to get to know each other and then also know where we are coming from, right? So thank you very much, Williams, for joining us from Zambia. We have Boaz who's also joining us from DRC. We have Laurentine joining us from Burkina Faso. So Nanasafo, over to you, please.
Okay, just to get this clear, am I kickstarting my presentation right away? I'm sort of doing just introduction, then I'll come back to you and then.
Yeah, so you start with us with your introduction. Let us get to know who you are. Then after that, you pick it up from there.
Okay, sure. All right, so hi everyone. My name is Nana Safu, and thanks to the Catalyst Africa Town Hall team for having me here today. I am here today in the shoes of DRep Chain. You may have seen me on socials, taking up several other roles, but today I think I'm here really to represent my brand, which is DRep Chain, and I'm happy to do that as well. Of course, Nanasafu, you may know, is maybe one thing I would say that is most recent that you probably get to know me pretty much with is the fact that I am a part of the service committee, the Cardano Service Committee, and I hold that position dearly. It's also another way of me representing the entire African community and giving us a true voice that we need and representation that we need as well. But yeah, I'm happy to be here today really to represent DRep Chain. And I think I'm here with one of my colleagues, Richmond. Richmond is here, Richmond Opon. And DRep Chain it's all about giving DReps access to relevant education and tooling that they need to make their work smooth and efficient for Cardano governance. So that is pretty much what DRep Chain we are all about. And we are not just for Africa, we are actually for the entire globe. So we operate for the entire globe. And whatever we do it for the entire Cardano DRep ecosystem. So that is pretty much what I would say is about DRep Chain. And yeah, if you want to read more, I think you can hop on to drepchain.org and then read further about us. For now, I'll say that is it all. So thanks, and thanks to you for having me here, Daniel.
Nanasafo, thank you very much for your introduction. I think a lot of people have heard about you from your Twitter spaces and how you are promoting decentralized government in Ghana and also promoting blockchain, especially Cardano blockchain, all over the places. So it's a privilege for us to also host you here today and for you to share your project with us. Will you be sharing screen or you just flow?
Um, I'll be happy to share my screen.
Okay,
Uh,
okay. Fire on, sir.
sure, let me see. Things may always break, so let me make sure that let
Okay,
me make
so
sure
okay,
that
that's fine. So whilst Nana Safo is preparing for his slides, last 2 weeks we had the Cardano Foundation reps on this platform. They told us about how to become a Cardano ambassador, right? The processes that you can take part in becoming Cardano ambassador. I know most of you here might be still be interested in it, so you can visit our social media. Richmond will be sharing it with you. Go there, you see the recap of that meeting. They also spoke about startups for young entrepreneurs in Africa, the young entrepreneurs in Web3, the various places that they can go and get resources to support their projects. So this is something that I think it will benefit you if you were not here 2 weeks ago when the Cardano Foundation team came. Please visit our YouTube. Richmond, please, if you can share our handles, visit our YouTube and you can watch the video, take um the information and then use it for your benefit as a young Web3 in Africa. Nana Safo, if you are ready, please carry on, sir.
all right, my screen is up. I think it is being shared by Richmond. Thanks, Richmond, for doing that. Okay, so I mean, when Richmond reached out to me that, would you like to um share with the community uh the findings you guys you sort of made through our research regarding this process? I found it enthused because it's always been one of our priorities to, share whatever we discover with the community so that the community is, I mean, like highly aware of what is up and what is happening so that they know how to sort of align themselves and position themselves for further opportunity that there is of. So yeah, I'm glad once again to be here today to share with you the research findings of DRep onboarding experience, a research we did by the DRep team. And I'm happy that, at the end of this presentation, you are going to learn about some of the insights and also some of the recommendations that we gathered out of this research. And to set the precedence, this is a project that was funded by Project Catalyst in Fund 13. And actually, the research is just a teeny bit of it because what we are looking to do really is to build a toolkit for DReps. So we are looking to build an onboarding toolkit for DReps. We do understand that once somebody signs up to become a DRep, often than not, they are lost in terms of where to find knowledge, in terms of where to find mentors, in terms of where to find what they have to do, in terms of like there's no clear structure, there's no clear roadmap that people could easily follow to become effective DReps when they pick up the shovel. So identifying this pain, we did put together a proposal, and by the grace of God and kind support of the community, largely I would say the Cardano Foundation, we got funded, and here we are implementing this particular project. So this research bit was primarily for milestone 1, which we have already closed out, and now working on milestone 2, which is the toolkit development itself. So yeah, I'm happy to share with the community the insights. But if you go on our Twitter page, which is at DRep_chain, you would find a copy to the full report where you can now read through and then make your own analysis out of it. But for now, I'll walk you through the slides and bear with me as I do so. Next slide, please, Richmond. Right. So one may ask, why is this even important for the ecosystem? I mean, like we have come through the days of, discussing having governance for Cardano, moving from workshop to workshops, having this constitutional conversion that we just did. And finally, being able to move from the Chan hard fork to the Plumbing hard fork, which allows DReps to now vote all governance actions. So why is this even necessary at this particular moment? Like we have DReps, we have more than 1,000 registered DReps who are sort of running the activities at DReps. So do they even need this? But I mean, I always say that it is early days yet to decide what is needed and what is not needed for the ecosystem. The only thing we can do as an ecosystem to make us thrive is to build relevant tools that will ensure that the work that we have to do becomes pretty much easier for us to execute. Because in the next 3 or 5 years, we don't want to be seeing the same DReps, hovering around, but we want to see a lot of other individuals being encouraged, being equipped with the right tools and knowledge to be able to participate as effective DReps as we have now for those who have already signed up to become DReps. So that is why this whole thing matters. And there are a few pointers here that you can just look at. Currently, we know that DReps are, Cardano's Voltaire's era empowers on-chain governance, like I mentioned earlier. And also, we also know that DReps are mandated with I would say, the power of voting on governance actions on behalf of either holders who delegate to them. And it is a very important role, particularly. I am myself a DRep coordinator for WADA, so I understand keenly how important this role is and how it is for each and every individual to really pay attention to it. And if this role is important, then what does it mean if there is low participation and poor decision um, making, right? So what it means is that there's obviously going to be lack of efficient decision made. And this primarily stems from when people do not get onboarded smoothly and efficiently into the DRep ecosystem. Right. So I think these are some of the reasons why it is very important for us as an ecosystem to pay attention to just cause like what we are doing here, which is delivering this onboarding toolkit. Next slide, Richmond. Yeah, so we started our project off with research because we wanted to make sure that we are gathering the insights from the community, which is community of DReps. And we did this because we wanted to ensure that, whatever tool we are building at the end of the day is relevant and remains relevant for the entire ecosystem, for a longer time to come. So one may obviously ask, if this is a research, then what were some, like for instance, there are certain questions that are very prevalent that will be asked. So for instance, what is your methodology for executing this research? So what we did was that we went by a mixed approach. So we used several methods. Notable among them were surveys, and also Twitter polls, and also interviews, and also X spaces that we did to gather all of this information that we used to put together this report that is out there for the community now. And it would shock you to know that as at the time that we were conducting our research, there were about 957 DReps registered. And out of 957, only about 630 were active, in a sense that they had voted on governance actions, um, you know, no less than 2 months ago, right? So they were sort of active in that classification. And out of the 630, it was only just about 70 who were deeply engaged in the Cardano governance activities. It was extremely shocking to, notice this, right? I myself, I'm extremely an active DRep. So when I hop on meetings, I know what kind of individuals I'm meeting. I know which DReps are in there. But these statistics really shook me because initially I thought maybe they were doing stuff outside, and they were not really engaging with us. But it was crazy to realize it. But that is a reality. So what we did was that we had to use these 70 as our cap, right? To determine maybe our our sample size. So we use a 70 who are deeply engaged because they were the ones who were really showing up on meetings, responding to messages, responding to Twitter posts, stuff like that. So you could only, sort of rely on those individuals to give you the response that you are looking for to be able to um go through your activities. And out of the 70 that we use as our sample. Actually, we set 50. Sorry, we set 50 out of the 70 because obviously you can't reach all the 70 people during the movement. You have quite a tight time to work with. I think we had the post and the service active for about 1 month. So, and out of that, we had 36 people, 36 individual DReps responding to response from all walks of geographical locations, right? So it was a mixed response that we did receive. And that is our 72% participation rate, which is very, very, very commendable, because what it means is that the data we are getting is really something that we could work with as a community. Next slide, Richmond. Yeah, so now we are diving deeper into some of the experiences that the community of DReps shared with us, and I think the first we'll touch on will be the tooling experience, and it's practically what DReps are saying about the tools that they have, available to them to use for Cardano governance. And at the time there were tools like GovTool, there was Tempo.vote, there was Someone platform, there was the AdaStart.net, there were a couple of tools that were actually available for DReps to use for their activities. And in terms of picking highlights, DReps did note that Graph tool is really an essential tool that they need for their activities, but they always feel like it is buggy and it is slow on mobile as well. So they really would be happy if it was sort of upgraded, or the features were upgraded, or better functionalities were sort of introduced to it so that it eases their workflow for them. There was also a comment on Tempo.vote. Of course, we all know Tempo.vote. They have better UX and UI experience as compared to GovTools, but DReps felt like it was always underused, and I think it was practically because at the time, it was somewhat difficult to use voting on governance action. Unlike now that they are bringing this new markdown functionality that allows you to really stylize your rationale before submitting. Initially, it was heck, and DReps did place a comment on that as well. And they did also note that Someone is a powerful tool, but it was very too technical. And it was particularly for those who wanted to do multi-sig DReps. I remember setting up the wider DRep. We wanted to go by the multi-sig approach, but it was extremely cumbersome, and we couldn't go about it. So we just had to set up with a single sig, as a single sig DRep. But I think maybe right now they are improving their processes, and hopefully it will be better as time goes on. And yeah, wallet integration was always inconsistent. You could look at Vespa, you could look at Euro, you could look at Eternal, you could look at Lace. There were always inconsistency issues, but I think now the teams are somewhat picking up, and it's great that they are working on those as well. Next slide, Richmond. Yeah, so in terms of role clarity and governance understanding, DReps did note that the role was quite clear for them, but as of when they finished signing up, they did realize that no, it wasn't really the case, right? So only about 12.5% gave it a 5 out of 5 for the role clarity, because initially signing up they thought it was going to be extremely smooth and easy role to run, but you realize that after signing up, you realize that damn, I've signed up for something great and I really need to set up to be able to catch up, stuff like that. And 66.7% say that the tools were only somewhat easy to use, of course, which is true, because you could go to either start.net and you can't really do many with it, same as GovTool, same as Tempo.vote. And also 50% rated the governance clarity. About 1/2 out of 5, right? So that was it. And then the cultural norms obviously were often, learned informally. Like there wasn't any formal way or formal structure for people to actually learn about the different cultural norms that they need to integrate to ensure that they are going about their roles and duties smoothly. Next slide, Richmond. Obviously, in anything, there are bottlenecks that people have to experience, and these are the bottlenecks that are relevant for building out solutions and building out iterations that ensure that the system keeps running smoothly. So we did identify some bottlenecks from the DReps, and some of them did note that about 66.7% of them did note that they had technical setup issues during going through the process. And also about 54.2% lacked clear documentation. Obviously, if you really wanted to go about this DRep roles, and then it was very difficult coming about these documentations, right? And even if you find some of the documentation, there are tons of pages that you need to read before you get to understand what you need to do. And it was really tedious for DReps, and they did note it in the research. And also DReps did comment that it wasn't really clear if there was going to be incentives or not. And they were obviously looking out for it, but it is not there. And currently, as it stands, it is still not clear whether or not DReps are going to be incentivized for the work that they're doing, even though from the service point of view, we are always discussing how to move or progress this discussion into an actionable item where we now begin to look at practical ways of getting DReps, on an incentive role so that they don't feel like they're just doing this as voluntarily as much as possible. Next slide, Richmond. Yeah, so I just want to share with you a snapshot of stakeholder engagement. And as you can see from the diagram on the right-hand side, 54.2% of DReps who responded to the survey were actually DReps who had served for more than 6 months. And then also about 45.8% DReps who were, very active in the ecosystem. And also 54.2% also did indicate that they were somewhat neutral in terms of participation in the governance. Yeah, they were somewhat neutral. They weren't really active. They weren't really dormant either. So they were in the middle like that. And only 8.3% rated the onboarding experience above 4 out of 5. So it means that what it means is that there's a lot of loopholes to be filled, and this is a clear indication that what course we are doing now is in the right direction, and the community is going to adopt it at the end of the day when we have the toolkit up and ready. Next slide. So obviously in every research you need to make comparative analysis to ensure that whatever you are doing, obviously somebody may have done it before. So you need to make sure that you are picking a thing or two from them to add to your research. So in this case, we did pick Cardano governance as a use case, and also we did study the Polkadot governance as a use case, as well as the Cosmos as a use case. And one thing that actually points out clearly is the fact that for Cardano, we are lacking incentives for governance participation. And that is something that we need to look at, because currently as it stands, like I said, it's almost like everything is being done on a voluntarily base, and people are now beginning to burn out. For instance, I think was it yesterday or Wednesday, there was a post by the Cardano Atlantic Council that they are going to submit they are putting together a governance action that they will be submitting to request funding from the treasury to actually incentivize themselves for the role that they're doing, because they've done it for 1 year and they don't think they can continue doing it for any further if not incentivized. So that is something that is now becoming a very, very serious discussion in the ecosystem, that if you are here you can actually follow up on Twitter. And also we need to have a standardized and modular education. Of course, once you sign up to become a DRep, you don't even know where to go to. You don't know who to go to. Like, you just come to the ecosystem and you just have to be swimming. And in a pool of oceans, if you don't know your grounds, you don't know whom you're moving with, you would always be swallowed by the bigger fishes, right? So it is important that we set up this modular education and standardized way of educating our community members, which is the DReps, about how they should go about their roles and activities so that it becomes relevant for the entire ecosystem. And of course, we need to integrate dashboards that makes it easy for even the ADA holders who are delegating to DReps to follow the activities and actions of their DReps. Because as an ADA holder, your role is not just to delegate your stake to a DRep, but your role is to delegate and as well monitor and check your DRep to ensure that they are doing the right thing at the right time. Once you realize that they are not doing the right thing, you have all the liberty to redelegate your ADA to another DRep so that this particular DRep will now begin to feel the heat and now begin to do the right thing then you can probably decide whether or not you want to come back to them. So it's something that these are a few things that we picked from these use cases that we think will be useful for Cardano to integrate to ensure that we have a very smooth governance process. Because I do believe that we have one of the safest and one of the smoothest governance system that can ever be run for a blockchain. And it is up onto us as an ecosystem to really build and make it a better one, a sufficient one, and a reliable and sustainable one for other blockchains to also adopt and use. Next slide, Richmond. So DReps obviously will not come to a survey and answer questions and not also point out what they need from, whatever is going to be built out of this particular research. So they did point out a few things that they think will be useful for them in the toolkit, and notable among them are role-specific quick start guides, and then also interactive tutorials, like for instance, how to vote, how to propose, how to register, stuff like that. And also structured mentorship program. Like once they sign up to become DReps, they want to be able to have access to mentors who would guide them as to what to do at what time and what not to do at what time. And also some form of gamification, which is like badges and onboarding tasks. So for instance, completing simple tasks and gaining badges, just like you have on the Cardano forum, where you stay on the platform for some time, you earn a member badge, you graduate to regular badge, stuff like that. Basic things to motivate you to want to do more in the ecosystem as a DRep. And also, of course, have multiple languages, have these resources have these resources translated into multiple languages. So obviously, we will be dwelling on some of the community members on this particular call. Like for instance, Laurentine and Boaz, to help us with translating our toolkit into local languages, like for instance French, Swahili, whatever it is, so that anybody at all, wherever they are, they can interact with the toolkit without feeling like they need to go and hire a translator or a narrator or whatever to be able to have this seamless interaction with the toolkit. Next slide, Richmond. Yeah, and in terms of tool integration and support, obviously they want us to have, we are going to collaborate with GAF2, Tempo, someone, Data Stats, CIP, 1694.io, all of those tools, right? We are going to have some form of integration with them. So even on their website, you can see a button that when you click will take you straight to the toolkit so that you can actually interact with the toolkit. So you could go on CIP 1694. You could go on gap.tools to register as a DRep, but after registering as a DRep, what is the next step? You will need that particular toolkit to guide you as to what next to do and stuff like that. So that is where it becomes relevant for you to click on that particular button to take you there to look at some of those things. And of course, in the toolkit, we'll have embedded FAQs, chatbots, and tool tips in interfaces that will help you have a seamless experience with the toolkit itself. And also, we're going to use smart plugins to sync it to the toolkit with wallets. So wallets like Euro and Eternal, Lace, they all come into function here. So it's going to be a very broad toolkit once everything is, put in place. And of course, we're going to always want to encourage community-driven content. So at some point, we're going to open source this particular project and allow the community to also come in with what content they think should be on there. But of course, we're going to set a guide, a contribution guide to ensure that the framework and the structure and whatever we have is not being distorted when people want to contribute to the toolkit itself. Next slide, Richmond. So in terms of roadmap, we have sort of a three-phase toolkit roadmap, and phase one is to build the core guides and tutorials. So that is something what we are doing now. We are building the content and the tutorials, and the next time will be to integrate the tools and launch mentorship network. So we'll be launching sort of a webinar or maybe a workshop, if I should put it that way, to guide people as to how they can actually use your toolkit. And that is where we would also explore, the way forward as to how we can bring mentors on board so that they can now mentor people, new DReps as to how they can go about the activities. Like I said, everything is now sort of voluntarily, so sometimes it is even difficult to get people to own out to want to do some of these things, but we believe that when we get there, we'll be able to cross that particular hurdle. And then, phase three, we'll add a smart plugins, gamification, and localization, and then we are done with the toolkit development. Next slide, Richmond. So the bigger picture here is that DReps are, somewhat democratic in action. You don't have anybody dictating to them what to do. They take their actions at their own liberty, at their own time. Of course, significantly to note that unlike constitutional committees where it is mandatory for them to always vote on governance action, whatever governance action is available, they need to vote on it. For DReps, they have the discretion power to vote or not to vote on any governance action at all. So they are very democratic in their dispensation of powers. And you need to also know that poor onboarding obviously would weaken Cardano governance legitimacy. And like I said, the goal is to make sure that we build this Cardano governance sustainably, such that people or other blockchains now begin to adopt it as their governance mechanism or governance methodology for governing their blockchain. So we want to make sure that there's proper onboarding, there's proper participation, there's proper coordination to ensure that we get that sustainability and efficiency that we need for achieving the adoption as well. And also empowered DReps obviously will lead to informed proposals and strong decisions. Once DReps are empowered enough, they are able to make relevant decisions on relevant proposals that are at their disposal and not just vote haphazardly, the community into a ditch, but lead us somewhere great. And it is, of course, supposed to be community driven, which is always a way forward. So community, you're going to call on you to come in and, join us in, building things out. Next slide, Richmond. Yeah, so I think I've come to the end of walking you through my presentation, and I'm glad that you have stayed until the end. Thanks for your time. And if you want a copy of the report, I think Richmond will put a link in the chat so you can, further read through and then look at what you can also pick up and then, develop or work on. Either unilaterally or probably engage us and see how best we can collaborate in terms of getting this toolkit up on its feet for the entire ecosystem. Yeah, so at this point, I just want to say thank you very much for staying to the end, and thank you very much to the organizers of this particular event, which is the Catalyst Africa Town Hall, particularly Daniel and his colleagues, for giving us a space to come and share our report with you. And of course, if you want to get in touch, please feel free to reach us at hello@drepchain.org. I think it will put in the chat, and I'll be happy to respond to your messages. Yeah, thanks, Daniel. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, Nanasafo. That was very informative. I think you and your team have done a very great work,
Thank you.
considering the fact that the DReps are doing a lot and they need to be recognized and incentivized. I'm sure a lot of people on the chat right now have, in one way or the other, have something to add up to what you have said, or probably they may need more clarification on the call. Or we can give ourselves some extra 10 to 15 minutes to do that Q&A section. So please, if you are here and you want to ask another friend the team any question or contribute, you can either unmute yourself, say hello, introduce yourself where you're joining us from, or just raise up your hand and then, we'll give you the platform to talk. So back to the community. Anybody have something to say, add to what another fellow said? So you clearly to Nasafo, your presentation was clear and messages were delivered. Usually when there's no question to be asked. So we will thank you, Nanasafo, for joining us today and sharing the beautiful things that you are doing. One question that I'd wanted to ask, I think you might have addressed it already, is what your tool is doing that the current tools that we have are not doing.
Right, that's a good question. I think all the tools we have now are paying attention to giving DReps the functionalities in terms of performing on governance actions. And also, so for instance, if you take Gov.tools, for instance, Gov.tools will allow you to register as a DRep. It will serve you with a dashboard that walks you through, various functions that you can actually perform as a DRep. You can look at proposals, you can vote on proposals, stuff like that. But it doesn't give you the guide you need to be able to run as an effective DRep. And it is the same for all the other governance tools that are currently active, right? So what we are doing differently is the fact that we are giving you the DRep, the guide, or let me say the roadmap to becoming an effective DRep. Okay. But this time around, you are having it handy. So what it means is that you don't need to be going through series of different documents, right? So for instance, if you're using a laptop, you don't need to open about hundreds of documents to be able to, read through all of them to be able to understand what the DRep rule is all about and how you can even participate effectively. But on a single tab, you get access to all the information you need and even access to mentorship if you're able to implement that to be able to run as an effective DRep. So that is what we are giving to you as DRep chain. And I believe it is something that is going to be very useful for any other person who would want to become a DRep. I mean, working as a DRep, I've had that experience of, having to jump from document to document to document to document, different tabs. Like once in a day, have about 30 different tabs opened, on a laptop. So you can imagine the stress you're putting on yourself if you don't even have um a capable laptop, right? So if you don't have a laptop that has enough or sufficient memory to be able to handle all of these different tabs that you're opening, then what it means is that you're going to experience frequent crashes, and that slows down your role or your work as a DRep, right? But if you have a single tab that is not draining too much of memory, right? And you're able to still access all the information you need, some of them infographics, some of them video, some of them text, it makes your work even more easier and even more loving for you to always want to do the work. So that is pretty much what we are offering to the community. And I believe, or we believe that it is something that is going to be very useful for the entire ecosystem once it is up and running.
Beautifully said, beautifully answered. Okay, so we are looking forward for this tool as it's going to put all the information in one place for us for easy accessibility. That is great. There's been a very big debate in the community about whether DReps are actually supposed to be incentivized. But submitting when you're doing your presentation, I noticed that other chains are actually rewarding their DReps, right? I don't know whether they still call them DReps, but they have some structure systems that is rewarding people their DReps. Do you have any message for those who are against the agenda of rewarding DReps? And do you think DReps should be rewarded? And if so, should we have some criteria for DReps to meet to become DReps?
Well, this is a very broad topic, but I'll try and keep my response very light.
Okay.
So first of all, I mean, I do believe that DReps needs to be incentivized for the work they do. Um, and my reason is very simple. If you look at the amount of work you need to put in place to be an effective DRep, it is not a joke. If you look at the resources you need to have to be able to function as an effective DRep, it is not a joke. It might not be as serious as wanting to run a stake pool, but it is relevantly noticeable, right? And even if you compare it to the work of the Constitutional Committee, we know that for each and every serious DRep, they are going to vote on each and every single governance action. And what that means is that you are going to review each and every single governance action. Whether or not you have the expertise to do that, it is up to you, but you have to do it. Just like the Constitutional Committee also have to do this. The only difference is that DS is mandated in the Constitution, and for DReps, it is not necessarily mandated in the Constitution, so they could choose to do it, choose not to do it. But the question is, can we have a governance action passing through or going through the process without being attended to by DReps? The answer obviously is no, because you would need DReps to approve or disapprove of it before we can term that as an effective governance action. So I feel like the work they're doing is very relevant, and they need to be accorded the necessary incentive they need or they so deserve to be able to run effective. Somebody said something that really resonated with me. I think that was yesterday. That you can start something, people will come around with passion, right? But it is for you to determine where you want to go to. So, for instance, if you want to go with people who have the passion, right? Who have just the passion, you would obviously get those individuals. But if you want to go with people who have the passion and yet the expertise to contribute effectively, then you need to make available some form of incentive for them to feel like the time they are spending with you is not going waste, or they are being sort of appreciated. But of course, if you want to also go with those with passion and no expertise, then they can be there for you. You know, they will be there, they will stick around you, they can be there with you for like 1,000 years, whatever. They will never leave. But the thing is, you are not growing. You are not growing in the sense that whatever contribution they are making, because it lacks expertise, you are not growing. So, if, for instance, if it's a product, you are not getting any add-ons to actually move the product from one state to the other. But if you're working with those who had the passion and also had the expertise, who obviously would demand some form of incentivization, then what it means is that if you had a product of, let's say, A, they could come up with a formula to do, say, A plus A and get A squared, right? Now it becomes a new product for you to actually market and sell and get more money. So I'm always of the view that DReps need to be incentivized. Constitutional committees need to be incentivized. I mean, like any relevant governance actors need to be incentivized in their own way to make sure that they are feeling good about the work that they're doing. Other than that, the good ones would eventually run out and will be left with only those ones who have the passion, but yet no expertise to be able to contribute to the governance, right? So, for instance, as I mentioned in my presentation, we are looking forward to establishing something like a mentorship program on our toolkit. But I mean, like, bear with me, if somebody has the expertise and yet is not getting any incentivization for the work they're doing, do you think they would even want to sign up to be mentors to others? I don't think they would. Like, it would be difficult coming across mentors. So, but if you had this incentive structure in place, then obviously it's easy for people to actually commit a part of their time because they are, largely being incentivized for the work that they're doing. So it is very relevant that, this discussion is done and done once and for all. Then DReps are incentivized, consider committees are incentivized, and any other actors that we think are relevant to be incentivized also are duly incentivized. And in terms of structure, I always believe that we could do um the very last structure, which is to have a base pool for all active DReps, and then another pool, which is more like a bonus pool for those DReps who are performing beyond voting on governance action. Because there are some DReps who obviously would want to just vote on governance actions. It takes some time for them to do that, so they need to be incentivized. But there are others who do not want to just vote on governance action. They want to be part of all discussions. They want to contribute ideas. They want to build tools to make sure that the governance is running smoothly, stuff like that. Those ones also have to be. There needs to be a bonus pool for those ones as well to be able to incentivize for all the other extra efforts that they are making for the ecosystem. So that is pretty much what I would say as my response to your question.
Okay, Nana Safo, well spoken and well explained. And I also believe that DReps are supposed to be incentivized. And I agree with whatever that you have said here on this platform. We'll be very happy to bring you back here again to tell us on your next milestone. If you just join us, the person speaking was Nana Safo, the project manager for the DRep chain, who is doing so well. Resources have been shared earlier on, so if you can follow the chat, you will get to know what he presented on because his presentation is part of the links that have been shared. I've also seen Fidelia who just joined us. So Fidelia was one of the facilitators that organized our blockchain, our Web3 governance workshop in Ghana, Tamale. That was last weekend. It was well attended, and the message that they delivered was very great. Um, Snippets of the videos have been shared on our X, right? But we are compiling and doing editing to release the full video for you to enjoy what actually happened in Ghana, Tamale. We are looking to expand to other African countries as well. So, William, thank you very much for giving us your contact. We'll reach out to you and see how we can also expand to the Zambia. And also, we are looking at Burkina Faso and some other countries. So thank you very much for that. If you have any suggestion how we can improve the town hall, you want to also take up the mandate like Nana Safo and present what you are doing, building in Africa, we can give you the chance to do so. Our next meeting, our next African Town Hall meeting will be in 2 weeks' time, and that will be 20th June same time, 20th June, same time. Please, you can invite someone to the town hall, any young entrepreneur that you know, or any Web3 entrepreneur. You can bring them on board as will be bringing resource people to talk to us and let us know what is next for us because it's time for Africa voices to be heard. It's time for us to educate ourselves more and also be visible. So that is what we have for you today. Nana Safo, once again, and your team, thank you very much for honoring our invitation. At this moment, I think we have come to the top of the hour and we'll bring the meeting uh, to an end. However, right, we'll stop the recording. But however, if you want to stay behind and have extra chat with us, friendly chat, you are willing to do so. Thank you very much, and let's see each other again on the 20th of June. Kindly join our social media, Telegram, where we'll be sharing most of our informations and our Twitter too as well. Merci beaucoup. Bonjour. Um, yeah, I want to speak Swahili, but I've forgotten the word. Okay, bye.